Hi, I'm Mary Lou. Welcome to my art studio. Today's video is about experimenting with underglazes on a bisque-fired heart pressed with false cypress branches. The greenery on these cedar trees inspired the textures on my recent low-fire clay pieces. These are also known as false cypresses. This tray was pressed with false cypress on both sides. Before I paint this tray, I decided to practice on smaller pieces like this heart. I am combining underglazed greens that might take on the look of natural false cypress greenery. One example of these underglaze experiments using green is this seed pod, hand-built from low-fire clay. I painted it with the leaf green and loved the color. Because I like the soft watercolory look of the leaf green, I decided to learn by doing with more greens on this clay bisque heart. Although this clay turns white when it is fired, I've been using a white underglaze as a base color over the white clay. Currently, I'm using China White Underglaze by Mako. I want you to know that I'm not sponsored by Mako or any other manufacturer of glazes. This heart is at the bisque stage, which means it's been fired one time in an electric kiln. I've discovered that painting on bisque rather than raw clay is easier because the artwork is less fragile after it's fired. After applying the underglaze, I let the undercoat dry completely, usually overnight. Now that the white underglaze is dry, it's much easier to paint color over top of the base coat. If the base coat isn't dry, the overpainted color tends to bleed and blend with the white, which is okay if that's the look you are after. However, I'm trying to learn to paint nature's images and am trying to keep the color from getting saturated with the white underglaze. I'm using a small pointed synthetic brush to fill in the texture of the pressed leaves. When the paint or underglaze builds up on the brush, I dip it in water and blot the brush with a paper towel or a cotton rag. These days, I'm trying to use less paper products in the art studio and tend to use cotton rags fashioned from white t-shirts. Tissue boxes help organize the rags in the storage area. Sometimes I overpaint an area. Then I decide I'd like to remove it. When this happens, I've discovered a few tricks that correct the problem. A toothpick with a small amount of paper towel moistened on the tip will pick up the smears. I prefer the toothpick instead of a cotton swab because the point is smaller than the swab. Also, a damp brush without any paint will pick up a stray puddle of paint. I've learned to be careful while making corrections with water because the dry white underglaze will eventually get moist and is removed at the same time. Usually, it's possible to reapply the base coat in a small area and let it dry. Then paint over the area again. Anyway, this has been a learning by doing process. I'm sure that you will discover some interesting ways to correct faux pas along the way. That's just part of the creative process. Now that the false cypress leaves are painted, I'm going to fire it to cone 05, which is 1,888 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a low-fire glaze and a low-fire clay. After it is fired, it will need a coat of transparent clear glaze to protect the surface. I will show the application of the transparent glaze in the next video. Thank you for watching this video.